There's been lots of time just standing next to him, feeding him hay from our hand, and we're letting him come investigate us. Have you touched him yet, Dan? So we still have not touched him, but we're getting closer and closer. And this is pretty exciting. This is 2732. Keep watching upcoming videos as this guy now is starting to approach me when I'm just in the pen hanging out. Now we're starting to get a lot of cool name ideas for the two old men, the 22 and 17-year-olds. So pretty soon we're going to be picking out a name for those two boys. Now here I'm working with 0611 on getting her comfortable with a halter. So if you're working on training or halter training an animal, I break this down into a lot of small steps to make sure she's comfortable with all of the small steps before actually putting the halter on her. So here I found a different halter and it has adjustments on it. So I was curious if this halter might fit her. So if you keep watching, I find out when I actually get it all the way on her that it is still too giant for her little noggin. And I did go to the store and I bought a couple more, actually 3 more different halters. So I'm able to try on different halters to see which size fits her. She is probably about 11 hands. I haven't been able to measure her yet, but probably about 11 hands. So she's a pretty small donkey. During this process, anytime she shows me concern about what I'm doing, I know it's okay to back up and just go over to something she is comfortable with. And we can keep building on what I'm asking her. I don't expect her to accept all this immediately. We're going to keep working on this until she's 100% comfortable with everything. Now, when I do later on get this halter buckled onto her neck, it's way too big and she gets nervous. And you can see how I handle that also. Right now, you can see how her head is tilted a little bit in towards me. When I start asking questions, I'm trying to wait for her to show me a little sign that she's okay with it. Right now, her head is a little bit away from me, so that would be not as good of a time to ask. And this little donkey, whenever she gets nervous, she likes to back up. That's her go-to response whenever she's nervous. When we first brought her home, she would back up and go kick all the other donkeys, so she was pretty spicy. Now she turned her head a little bit away from me again. Now I know that she's going to be okay and she's going to stand there. So I guess I'm okay with a little bit of doing that, but it kind of depends on how they act. And again, I'm going very slow. There she starts to back up again. But those signs were there before I was doing that she might back up. But you see how she's willing to come right back to me. She still wants to be involved. She's just a little bit nervous. And I also noticed when I was working with her, there's part of her neck tag is hanging down. So I'm trying to get the halter on without touching the neck tag too much. And also anytime my fingers touch the hair around her ears, she has really hairy ears, that would make her uncomfortable. So I started to be really careful with how I was touching her or touching her at all near her ears while I'm working on the haltering process. So now she's showing that she's a little bit nervous and she's backing up a little bit more. So I'm just going to walk away. And here you can see she's going to come to me pretty quick, which shows me that she's still interested. I haven't overwhelmed her too much for her to come back here right away when I step away from her. We want to leave them in a feel-good spot each time we're working with them, each moment we're working with them, so lots of breaks. Taking time to review all of these steps is going to be a big deal whether you're working with a domestic or a wild donkey. And the amount of time you take with the steps is going to just depend on the donkey and how comfortable they are with it. It also helps you see what areas they're nervous about their body, or just how long they can take attention and training before they start to get overwhelmed. All of this stuff is good. We want to always just be paying attention and studying our animals to help them. This helps us see anything that's different. It'll help us pick out things that are wrong, or if their mood is different, how their breathing is. Their nostrils can be crooked, which tells us that they're stressed out, if they're not blinking a lot, or if they are blinking a lot. All of this tells us how they're feeling. When we bring new animals home, I keep them in a wild pen until I can halter them and lead them around. Sometimes it'll be for 3 or 4 months. I like that when I go down to work with them, it's easy because they're all right there. For these 3, I have to separate them into 3 pens. And then on the other side, I have 4 donkeys with one area sectioned off to separate to work. Because otherwise, when you're working with one, if you have other ones that are just kind of surrounding you, it makes it really tricky to work and gentle or train.
So right there, when I petted her close to her ears, she got kind of nervous again. So I just walked away and said, hey, I see you're nervous. Making sure that they know that we're totally aware of our surroundings makes them want to follow us more. The transformation that she's already made since coming home, being so spicy and backing up and kicking all the animals, to seeking out attention, wanting to be petted. And guys, she is so soft. She is just so sweet. Remember, I have a playlist for these 7 that we're working with now. It's called The Tale of 7 Tails. So you can see all the processes that we're going through. These videos are smaller, shorter videos. And then if you're looking for the full training sessions of what I do, then check out the Mustang and Burro comparison series. And that one there, I'm recording the entire sessions of everything if you're wanting to see more of their body language and then how I respond when they're nervous or showing something that they're nervous about. But these ones here, we're just recording little pieces of the different training sessions. Now right now, anytime she backs away from me, I've been walking away just a little ways, and then you can see that she comes back to me. She's still interested, but she's a little bit nervous. Here, I just barely touched her nose, and then I released and gave her pay. I like to use pay when I'm gentling or introducing new things, and then later on, I'll be doing training where I'm not doing any pay with the training, but I always start off with pay. Right now, I'm trying to make that connection with her. Connection comes first. So first, we're going to go with them. Later on, we'll ask them to go with us, and then eventually we'll go together as a team. We're breaking it down into these 3 categories, going with them, asking them to go with us, and then later going as a team. That's eventually what we really are striving after as a team, but we have to have that connection first. Now, I almost have it buckled, but I'm just holding it there, paying her, and then I'm going to release that off from her. Walking away again to give her a break. And look at there, she's coming right back towards me for more attention, more connection. Now, Bahala, she has her own playlist. And Bahala, while we were doing this stuff, Bahala would actually go into the corner and put her head down because she would get so overwhelmed. Every donkey that you're working with is very, very different. So your donkey might be pretty and wanting the attention like this little girl is. But Bahala, you can check out her playlist because she's always backing up and then going into a corner. Bahala needed longer breaks than this little girl does. Thank you again to everybody who's submitting names, name ideas. Right now we're looking for names for the 2 old men, the 22 and 17-year-old. And we've been getting a lot of people submitting name ideas, and I just love that. So pretty soon we'll be announcing the names for those 2 old men. And this little girl here. Again, she is just so darn cute. And the old man, the 22-year-old, is coming along so great now that we took the time just to sit with him. That has made a huge difference. So now you can see she's a little bit nervous, but she's willing to stay with me as I put it on there, and I'm buckling it. And once I get it buckled on the top one, it is just way too big. Look at that. It's way too big, and she's nervous. So once I see how big this is on her, I'm just going to take it off. But I have to get up to her first. So here I'm just offering her pay, saying, oh, sweetie, I see it's too big. Let's get that off from you. And she's nervous, but we're going to get it off. And then I bought 3 new halters to see if I can find one that fits her well. Coming up with halters that fit these littler donkeys has been kind of tricky. So while she's this nervous, I'm just going to approach slow, keep myself out of the kicking range. And you can see how she just backs up when she's nervous. So I'm just going to give her a moment to recollect herself there, and then I'll approach slowly. And she's looking at me. She's like, oh, can you help me? This thing doesn't fit me at all. Again, I bought 3 new halters to see if I can find one that fits her better. Thanks for watching, and hit that like and subscribe.